Hello there. So differentiation in the classroom is about you making adjustments to tasks to help your learners get to where they need to be according to the particular strengths of each learner, where they're at, their language ability and how they work. It's not about letting your learners choose what they do. It's not about letting your learners do what they prefer. But maybe hundreds of times now I've read in teacher assignments and essays that they will differentiate their lessons by letting their learners choose. Now, the underlying assumption in letting your learners choose in terms of pedagogy is that they will instinctively choose what's best for them, what they need. But most of the time they probably won't. That might sound a little bit harsh, but it's true. That's why we need teachers. For various reasons, I think. Firstly, your learners don't know as much about language acquisition as you do. We imagine, yes? Secondly, they haven't seen cohorts of learners learning English, and they haven't seen those in a longitudinal way. They haven't seen the same learners at the beginning, the middle and the ends of their journey as you will have done, at least with some learners. They don't know the ins and outs of the tasks that we have planned or designed for them. And also, unless there's somebody like this man, like David Goggins, they probably will not do the thing they need to work on most. Most of us take the path of least resistance and avoid what it is that is really going to constitute hard work for us. So, when it comes to the big decisions, an informed choice on your part, on the part of the teacher, is going to be better than letting your learners do what they prefer. This is you taking ownership of the lesson and taking ownership of the material and saying, hey, look, guys, I'm good at this. I know how to help you. Now, if there was a teacher who had no personal theory about how languages were learnt at all, or if there was a teacher who paid no attention whatsoever to the people in front of them, to them, I might say, let them do what they prefer, because that teacher's own interventions would be as good as random anyway, and random practice brings random results. But you guys, anybody watching this, anybody who's persevered and watched my annoying videos, or even just this video to this point, you do care. You do care about the people in front of you. You care about language. And, okay, some of the time you'll get it wrong. Some of the time I'll get it wrong. But provided that our decisions are based on some sort of principle, some sort of commitment, then in the end we will all steer our students to where they need to be. So, Chrissy boy, are you saying don't ever let our learners choose? Well, no, I'm not saying that. Obviously I'm not saying that because I'm not a psycho and I'm not a tyrant. In fact, some colleagues I've worked with say that I'm actually quite lenient, quite permissive, maybe a soft touch as it were, and I tend to spoil my students. So I do let students choose, but there are choices and there are choices. And I'll let my students choose. I'll give them all sorts of freedoms when it comes to self-expression and being comfortable, because you can't teach a person who's feeling uncomfortable, not very well anyway. You can't teach somebody who's feeling invalidated. But the big decisions, the ones regarding differentiation, no, I don't think they're the ones we should let our students choose. I'm going to give you some examples across a number of areas of why I don't think students' preferences will help in terms of differentiation. Area 1, groupings. If you let your learners sit with the groups they want to do a project, to do a group activity, there is no guarantee that they will sit with the people with whom they are the best fit. So here I think we assign groups. We say to students, I'd like you to sit with this group, I want you to work with this group, I think you'll fit in well here, or I think, what you can bring to this group is good. And you can use the combinations that I talked about in clip number 28, which is entitled Getting Your Learners to Move About from the First Day, I think. That's a very nice system for pre-assigning groups, which avoids tension and tends to avoid them resisting your assignments, the groups you've assigned them to. Area 2, pairings. If you say to a student, who do you want to ask and answer these conversation questions with? They're going to say, with my friend, with my best friend. But that best friend may be a total mismatch in terms of personality or ability. They might be somebody who talks over the first student, or they might be someone who distracts them because they're such good friends and makes them just want to talk in L1, in their first language, and go off topic. Again, sometimes I say to students, there's no point you asking these questions to your best friend because you know the answers for each other. And I think some lack of familiarity with the person they're speaking to often helps restore some sort of formality and real communication gap to the task. Another area, pairings in terms of going over exercises, similar to the previous point. But if you let students choose who they're going to go over the questions or the answers, or who they're going to check with the answers to the exercise they've just done, again, they'll choose either their best friend or they'll choose the person sitting next to them so they don't have to move. But that person, again, might be somebody who just gives them the answer. Might be someone who doesn't bring anything much more than they have. It might be, again, a mismatch. So, often I'll say to a student, I'd really like you to work with this student. Trust me, I'm the teacher. Or, can you please work with this person? It's not up for negotiation. I still love you, but I'd like you to work here. I trust you will make the right decision. I'll just give you a few moments to decide, but don't take too long. If you work with me, then later maybe I can let you sit with somebody that you want to sit with, for example. Like I say, at the beginning of the term, I tell people you're going to work with everybody in this class. That's just a given. Again, that goes back to clip number 28. Okay, moving on. Task type is another area where students' preferences, letting students choose, won't necessarily guarantee the best degree of differentiation. Remember, differentiation is helping students get to where they need to be relative to where they're at. Let's imagine you have a student who desperately needs to work on their writing. And you say to them, what would you like to do? This writing task or this speaking task? Again, unless they are David Goggins, most of the time they'll choose the speaking task because they're avoiding the writing because they don't like it, they're not good at it, and it takes a lot of effort. Give them the writing. By all means, take the pain out of the writing. Ask them to do a paragraph instead of a page. Give them some useful language. Sit with them for 5 minutes and help them. Let them do 3 or 4 resubmissions to lift their mark to where they want to be. Radical. But nudge them towards doing what they need to work on. Area 5 is task version. Let's imagine that you've gone the sort of traditional route and you've actually prepared various versions of a task, maybe graded versions, we could call it a tiered task. If you say to students, which version of this task would you like to do? Again, we know they're going to have a quick look and choose the one that they imagine is going to be least work or more fun. They don't know the ins and outs of the worksheet you've prepared. They don't know how it matches with their particular skill set, as well as you should do. So again, I say, assign the different versions according to what you know about the learners. Okay, so back to not being a psycho and a tyrant. What can we let our learners choose in class? Well, not stuff to do with differentiation is essentially my point here. We can let them choose stuff to do with their own bodily freedom, for example. We could let them choose whether to stand up or sit down to do a speaking activity. We can let them choose whether they want to rearrange the seats if they're working in groups or pairs to better face their partner or fellow group members. We can choose to let them go to the toilet whenever they want without asking. Or we could choose to let them decide if they want to chew some gum or suck a mint in class. Again, radical. We can let them choose small things to do with logistics sometimes. We could let them choose the order in which to do a number of tasks, where that isn't going to profoundly affect your lesson design, and where you have the logistical wherewithal to actually allow them to do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. We could let them decide whether they want to do a rewrite or a piece of work in the class or at home. Again, where we know that the work is going to get done and it's not going to affect the lesson flow or design. We could let them choose what they prefer in terms of identity and taste. If we've asked them to write a review, they could choose maybe whether to review the work of a streamer, a YouTube celebrity, an interviewer, a writer or a musician, but not whether to do a review at all. Small preferences in the way they work. Where it doesn't affect the lesson or ideas that we have for later, we can let them decide if they want to write in pen or if they want to write in pencil, if they want to word process a piece of work or handwrite it, if they want to take our corrections of a piece of writing home and do a rewrite, or if they want to record themselves speaking, incorporating our corrections into the recording and give us that. These are all things that we can allow our students to choose that doesn't affect or compromise differentiation. My point is, your classes will not differentiate themselves, and your learners can't do that most of the time unless they're highly, highly self-aware. Most of your learners are relying on you to step up and make decisions that will benefit them. Differentiation is based on having some idea of where each learner is and some idea of where they need to get to. People, strength and energy with your teaching.